Welcome back, piggies, to another episode of the Pigskin Pals podcast with your hosts, Dayne and AJ. Today, we got part 2 of the studs and sleepers thing that we're doing this time. We got wide receivers and tight ends. Before we get into it, we need to mention that these picks that we have for wide receivers and tight ends were done prior to week 8. So I guess the end of week 7 is when we made these, I guess. So some of these takes might seem super obvious, but just know that they were just like insanely good takes from us, and we're really smart and like professional fantasy football analysts. So like, don't worry about it. With that being said, don't forget to sack that like and subscribe button like it's Aaron Rodgers. Let's get stuck right into it.
The first stud wide receiver of the Pigskin Pals podcast, someone that you should go get, is Nico Collins. This is my recommendation. He was the wide receiver 14, 4, 35, 1, and 16, even after leaving his last game early due to injury. But you could be possibly trading for a wide receiver 1 at a lower value since he's been injured. And ever since his injury, Stroud has honestly been playing pretty bad. So I think there's a real opportunity that the perception on him is just lower than what it was when he was starting off this season. Their team hasn't really been clicking. Unfortunately, Diggs just got announced that he has a torn ACL, so this will probably prop up Nico's value a little bit more. Managers might be a little bit more hesitant on willing to trade him. Hopefully Tank Dell can really show out this week and kind of put some caution arrest for that. I think that just the whole Diggs injury, that just is going to mean that Nico's going to need to be relied on that much more when he does return. So I'm totally fine with paying a little bit more and getting that wide receiver that could win you this league or for this year. And lastly, I want to bring up the last 3 games in Nico's playoff contention is going to be Miami, the Chiefs, and Baltimore. Those to me sound like some dream like playoff matchups for fantasy, especially Baltimore in that championship week where I would love to add Nico on my team. So he is the stud wide receiver I'm recommending.
I like it. I like Nico. I think it's a good pick or a fun pick because I think even with the Diggs injury, Nico is probably pretty cheap and accessible. So I like that as a pick. On the other hand, I'm going kind of opposite. AJ Brown is not cheap and accessible. He is going to be expensive to go and get, but I think it's still worth it. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles, but my stud QB was Jalen Hurts, and my stud wide receiver is AJ Brown. This offense is good. I don't care what anyone says. This offense just produces. Specifically, AJ Brown produces. He's only played 4 games this season. He had his little injury spurt there, but the first 3 games, he was wide receiver 7, wide receiver 3, and then wide receiver 7 again. And his down week, this past week, he's still at 11 points. If that's the type of week that's going to be a down week for my wide receiver, I'm okay with that. That's fine. I'll take an 11-pointer if that's going to be my down week, and I foresee that being the type of down week that he's going to have is those 10-point weeks. So this is what I would do. If I was a Tyreek Hill owner, I would try and make a swappy do here for AJ Brown. That's something I would do. I don't know what that would take, if maybe the Tyreek Hill owner's got to add a little bit on, but I would do that because I think AJ Brown, I think they have the same ceiling, and I think AJ Brown's floor is just a bit higher, and that consistency is like really important, especially if you're going to win leagues. So for me, I'm pairing up my stud QB, Jalen Hurts, with my stud wide receiver, AJ Brown.
Does that mean there's a trade coming, AJ? Because I feel like you should put your money where your mouth is.
So here's what I was literally gonna. I was thinking about this as we were talking about this. I thought, as a Tyreek Hill owner, I went, wait a minute, I'm a Tyreek Hill owner. I should try and do this. So I may, after this episode, go try and make a trade for AJ Brown.
All right. My sleeper wide receiver, these are going to be more fun because they haven't been showing out that much. They've showed flashes, but it's not as easy to recognize these players. The first one is Xavier Worthy of the Chiefs. Rashee Rice and Patty Mahomes didn't really figure out their connection until week 12 last year. It's week 9 of this season right now. And we've seen it year after year that Mahomes takes some time to trust his rookies. And unfortunately, in Sky Moore's case, it never happened. But this is a first-round wide receiver, and on one of the best teams in football with one of the greatest quarterbacks, one of the smartest coaches, and they just traded for Hopkins, which I kind of foresee that taking a lot of pressure off Worthy, and attention will shift to Hopkins, and that should open up lanes for Worthy to showcase his blazing speed. Honestly, the icing on the cake is that the Chiefs wide receivers have the ninth easiest strength of schedule for the rest of the season. And lastly, he's my sleeper because he is cheap. Some recent real trades that I was seeing was he was just kind of like a throw-in. Trades were Xavier and Puka for AJ Brown, Xavier and Josh Jacobs for Brees, and Xavier and Jaden Reed for Marvin Harrison Jr. That kind of just screams like you're getting some crazy value, but just at like a tier swap. Or not even a tier swap. You're just switching players, but you're getting some extra value on top of that. So I think Worthy could be a great ad. So just go test out the waters and see what happens with that.
I like it. I like it. I will not spoil anything, so I'm not going to say anything. We'll talk about it later. My next player is, or my sleeper wide receiver is Jalen McMillan. Obviously, with the injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, he is going to be stepping up into a bigger role, which isn't that crazy because he already had basically a 70 and above snap share every game this season. So now with that consistent snap share, he's going to be getting way more targets. The 2 games where these injuries happened and the game after, he's had 8 and 7 targets, which is way more than he had in the first 4 games that he played, where he was getting 3 and below targets. So you've already seen that target share grow, and he is a guy that takes deep ball shots. So those are going to be valuable targets as well. If you hit on those, all it takes is 1 to really change your week. I really think that the Buccaneers are not going to change their play style. They're going to throw the ball, and they're going to have to throw to someone, and one of those guys is Jalen McMillan. Dang.
Hopping into
Your
the stud tight ends, I'm going with George Kittle. I mean, it's no secret that he is the tight end 1 in this league, but that's not why I'm talking about him. I'm talking about him because he is like that league winning tight end this year in football. And I'm willing to overpay for him because, like I said, yes, he's the tight end 1, but you're not just getting a tight end, you're getting the wide receiver 5 in fantasy football this year right now. He has 15.2 points per game in half PPR, which is right behind CeeDee Lamb, who is the 4th best wide receiver, scoring 15.6 points per game. So you really just cannot argue with me that Kittle is a league winner this year because he's playing as a wide receiver 1, a top 5 wide receiver. He's like the yesteryears of Kelsey or Gronk. And if you have a shot at trading Kittle, if that manager is willing to give him up, I think that's a big mistake. We've seen, especially when like the 49ers offensive weapons kind of get hurt and it funnels towards Kittle more, which is what's happening with the Ayuk injury. Jennings can't stay in the field. Jordan Mason's banged up. CMC, who knows when he's going to be coming back, maybe soon. Go get some Kittle on your team.
I like it. Yeah, he's been a beast. I, for the first time, played against George Kittle in a fantasy league last week, and it sucked because it's just like, you know that it's either going to be like that 5 or he's going to drop 40 bomb on your head, and that's terrifying. And he dropped a really large amount of points on my head. My stud tight end is Travis Kelce for a couple similar reasons to that you had Xavier Worthy. I really think DeAndre Hopkins coming in is going to push Travis Kelce back to being that like scary guy you see on the other team. He's been a little bit slow, a little bit low scoring this season, but the Chiefs offense has been really not too consistent on the passing game. And I think adding a veteran receiver who is going to be a consistent target or a consistent threat for the defense that they have to pay attention to is going to really help Travis Kelce and open it up a little bit more for him, just like it may open it up for Xavier Worthy. And although he started off slow, he's still, these past couple of weeks, he's been garnering those targets that he wasn't getting in the first couple of weeks. He started first 3 weeks with 4 targets, 3 targets, 5 targets. And now he's back to that 9, 10, 12 target threshold, which is like great for a tight end, especially in the landscape of this year where the tight ends have all been really, really bad. So Travis Kelce, maybe the cheapest he's ever been to go and try and acquire, would go and do so if you can. Moving on, Dayne's sleeper.
Yep, my sleeper is Hunter Henry. This tight end might even be on waivers, honestly. And if not, he might be hitting them really soon with Drake May being concussed, so maybe some people are going to be dropping him this week if May doesn't play. But regardless, this is one of the cheapest tight ends you can get, and I think it's just worth a little stash to put him on your bench see what happens. This was kind of a piggyback on AJ's quarterback from last episode, and
Yep.
this is spoiler
Drake
alert.
May.
So if you want to go check that out, go check that out. But yeah, AJ's sleeper was Drake May, and for all those reasons, Hunter Henry is my sleeper tight end this year. League winning tight ends are like Kittle, who I just talked about. They're going to be the focal point of that offense, and for the Patriots, Hunter Henry is that number one option. He leads the team in receptions, yards, and is tied for the lead in receiving touchdowns. He is kind of like that focal point. None of the wide receivers have really stepped up. Javon Baker's yet to be seen still. AJ's
Man,
guy.
you cannot be talking about Javon Baker like that. Come on.
Well, I didn't see him in your sleeper wide receiver, so I feel like we can start disrespecting him a little bit. But
I mean,
yeah, that
he might be sleeping on the couch somewhere. Bro hasn't seen the field at all. He has got no contract coming his way, man. This is just brutal.
he is not baking money. He is going to be baking bread maybe soon. So yeah, that wraps up my points for Hunter Henry. Yeah, it's worth it a shot, I think.
Here we go. Well, this is kind of why we had the disclaimer in the beginning of the video. Cade Otten is my sleeper tight end, which seems stupid to say now at this point after the week he had last week. But Dayne was talking about being the focal point of the offense. With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out, as much as I love Jalen McMillan and think he's going to be good, he's not the focal point of this offense, of this passing offense moving forward. It is Cade Otten. That was very evident in both of the game that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin went down. He's used in like the screen game. He's used like plays are schemed for him. He's the guy that they have the most faith in right now. He's that safety blanket for Baker Mayfield. He had 10 targets in the past two, like in both of the past two games. This guy is a surefire, locked and loaded tight end one for the rest of the season. Love Cade Otten, and everyone should. It's obvious to see now after last week he's going to be a beast.
Yeah, after that last week where he just went absolutely ballistic, maybe it's almost best to wait until Evans is like cleared and coming back. Their bye week is week 11, and it's confirmed. It looks like that Evans is out for 4 weeks, but that's including the bye week. So it's really just these next 2 games is I'm going to be playing without Evans, and then maybe like that bye week you could be trading for Otten, or week 12 when that value is kind of back there. So that might just be something to keep in mind.
Yep, yeah, I like that. That is it for us, for our studs and sleepers. We appreciate you all watching. Don't forget to sack that like and subscribe button like it's your least favorite quarterback, whoever that may be. Probably Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers because they suck.
Well,
but that's it.
Talking about
that's
Aaron
all we
Rodgers,
got for you.
Talking about Aaron Rodgers.
No, it's not.
Who's winning this game? I'm pretty sure the Jets are favored right now for this Thursday night game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous that they're favored. That's ridiculous. It's the Texans. The Texans are going to win this football game.
You're pretty confident. Like,
that's what
just tanking Joe Mixon are going to carry them to the victory lane?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll see.
You're not so sure?
An hour and a half. I mean, I don't know. Like, their offense looked abysmal against the Packers, and that's really like the last time I really watched their team. So
fair.
It'll be interesting to see. I'm just waiting for the Jets to have like 500 yards on offense with Devontae, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Like, I want to see it happen. I'm on that side of I'm rooting for the Jets. But I know there's a lot of people rooting against the Jets. So either way, people will be happy or upset. But yeah. Like AJ was saying, thank you for watching. This was the Pigskin Pals, Studs and Sleepers. We don't know if we'll be doing more of these this season, but they will surely be back next season and maybe in the off season. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck, everyone.
Peace.